Welcome to Ladies and Gentlemen. Journey begins. King Amazon. The early morning light filtered through the dense canopy of the Amazon rainforest. The air was thick with humidity, and the sounds of birds and insects echoed all around. For Helena, a young scientist from Brazil, this was the moment she had been waiting for. She stood at the edge of the river, watching the mist rise off the water. It was a breathtaking sight, but Helena was not here for the view. She had a mission: to explore the deepest parts of the rainforest and study the plants and animals that lived in one of the most biologically rich places on Earth. Helena had spent years preparing for this journey. Armed with notebooks, cameras, and an insatiable curiosity, she was determined to uncover new secrets of the Amazon. But little did she know, this journey would change her forever. "Ready, Helena?" called out João, her guide and friend. He was a native of the Amazon and knew the forest better than anyone. His dark eyes sparkled with excitement, and his weathered face showed signs of years spent navigating the jungle. Helena nodded, and together they boarded the small boat that would take them deep into the heart of the forest. The boat cut through the murky waters of the Amazon River, the massive trees on either side looming like giants. As they ventured farther from civilization, the landscape changed. The towering trees gave way to dense vines and thick foliage. Helena could hardly believe the vastness of the jungle, an endless sea of green. The sounds of the rainforest became louder, the calls of howler monkeys, the rustling of leaves, and the occasional splash of a fish leaping from the water. As they reached their first stop, Helena felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The Amazon was a place of mystery, a place where ancient tribes had lived for thousands of years, where new species were still being discovered, and where the very air they breathed was intertwined with the survival of the planet. Helena was determined to learn as much as she could, but there was a feeling in the air, something primal, that made her question if she truly understood the forest. "Stay close," João warned as they disembarked. "The jungle is alive in ways that most people don't understand. We need to respect it." The deeper they went into the jungle, the more Helena felt like a visitor in someone else's world. The vibrant greens, the towering trees, the rich, earthy smell of wet leaves, it was all overwhelming. But it was also magical. João led the way, deftly moving through the underbrush. Helena struggled to keep up, but she was determined. At midday, they arrived at a small clearing near a river tributary. João set up camp while Helena took out her field notebook, eager to document the various species of plants and insects she had seen along the way. She marveled at a strange flower she had never seen before, its petals a vivid purple that stood out against the surrounding green. As she carefully took notes, she heard João's voice, low and urgent. "Helena," João called. "Come here, quickly." Helena stood and hurried over to him. When she arrived, he was crouched low beside a massive tree. His finger pointed to a patch of moss-covered bark. At first, Helena saw nothing but the dark green of the forest. Then, she saw it, a snake. It was long and sleek, with emerald green scales that glistened in the soft light. Its body was coiled around the tree, blending in perfectly with its surroundings. The snake's eyes were watchful, its tongue flicking in and out. "That's a green tree python," João whispered. "It's harmless, but don't get too close. The Amazon is full of creatures like this, camouflaged and waiting." Helena took a step back, feeling both awe and fear. The Amazon was alive, and she was only just beginning to realize how much she had to learn. It was one thing to study the rainforest from afar, but it was something else entirely to be surrounded by it. The forest wasn't just a backdrop, it was a living entity with its own rules, its own rhythms, and its own dangers. As the days passed, Helena and João trekked deeper into the rainforest. They encountered many more creatures, colorful butterflies, strange birds, and elusive jaguars. But one evening, as they made camp by a quiet stream, something strange happened. Helena, who had been studying the nearby trees, noticed something unusual. A tree, unlike any she had ever seen before, stood tall in the distance. Its bark was a deep blue, and its leaves shimmered with an iridescent glow. "João," Helena called out, "look at that tree. Have you seen one like it before?" João's face grew serious as he turned to look. No. I've never seen anything like it, he said, his voice tinged with caution. Let's not go near it. Some things in the jungle are best left undisturbed. But Elena's curiosity was piqued. She couldn't resist. She motioned to Joao to stay put and made her way toward the tree. The closer she got, the more it felt like the forest itself was watching her. The air seemed heavier, and the sounds of the jungle grew distant, almost as if the forest had gone quiet in anticipation. When Elena reached the tree, she reached out a hand to touch its glowing bark. As her fingers made contact, a strange energy surged through her body. Her vision blurred, and for a moment, she felt as though she was no longer in the physical world but somewhere else entirely, a realm beyond time, beyond space. She saw visions of ancient civilizations, of tribes that had lived in harmony with the forest for centuries. She saw glimpses of the future, deforestation, destruction, and a world without the Amazon. The vision lasted only a few seconds, but when it ended, Elena felt a deep sense of sadness and urgency. Elena! Joao's voice called, sharp and fearful. She turned around to find him standing at the edge of the clearing, his face pale. What did you see? Elena couldn't explain it. She didn't have the words for the vision she had just experienced. But she knew one thing, the forest was trying to tell her something. The Amazon was more than just a place, it was a living, breathing entity with a voice, and it needed to be protected. The days following the strange encounter were filled with a sense of purpose. Elena and Joao continued their journey, but Elena could no longer see the Amazon the same way. She had felt its pulse, its heartbeat, and understood that the forest was under threat. As they ventured deeper, they came across signs of deforestation. Huge swaths of land had been cleared, and the once thriving ecosystem was disappearing. We have to do something, Elena said one evening as they sat by the fire. The Amazon is disappearing. If we don't act, everything we've seen here, the animals, the plants, the tribes, it will all be gone. Joao nodded grimly. It's not just the trees that are at risk, he said. It's the balance of life. The Amazon isn't just a forest, it's the heart of the world. Elena knew that the fight for the Amazon wasn't just about studying the rainforest. It was about protecting it for future generations. She vowed to return to the world outside the jungle and spread the message of what she had learned. The Amazon was in peril, and it was up to people like her to fight for its survival. As Elena and Joao made their way back to civilization, Elena looked back at the dense jungle one last time. She knew she would return, but she also knew that the Amazon was changing, and time was running out. I promise I'll fight for you, she whispered to the forest, her voice carrying on the wind. I will never forget what I've seen here. With that, Elena left the Amazon rainforest behind, but it would remain with her forever. The fight to protect the heart of the world had just begun.